was time for me to up my game and build a specific workbench come outfeed table that was going to be of most practical use for the projects that I do. G'day folks, welcome to Sumo's Projects and welcome to my re-establishing my bench top. I'm building a new bench come outfeed table for the table saw, and I've made a few changes because the practicality of the bench that I have existing here at the moment doesn't really serve my purposes. It lacks in clamping area as far as where you can get a clamp in to hold something down. The new thing I've done, I'm building the base at the moment, and I've got some nice hardwood. I think this is Curry, K-A-R-R-I. I've had precision CNC holes bored throughout the top, and I'm merely wanting this to be a little bit shorter. And in addition to that, I'm also going to, this is not going to be directly set up from the table saw, but there'll be another part there, and this will be moved out that way. But for me, it makes more sense to have something I can utilise, some sort of hold down system, and make it work for my use. So I'm using 70 by 70 mil all round dressed pine. I machined it up, cut it to size. Now my table saw stands at a height of about 870 millimetres, so I made this a couple of millimetres below that surface, just to allow, you know, effective outfeed. So one of the methods I've used here, I've just sort of set it up. This is going to be mobile. I've got some casters ready to go. So it's all machined up, 70 by 70 by 70, and I've also allowed the measurement for the caster. So we're coming in a few millimetres under, not too much, but it's always best in this application to go a little bit under, and we can always shim it up to bring it to a desired height. I'm using 70 by 70 millimetre all-round dressed pine once again. Quite a solid material to work with. I enjoyed it in a couple of other builds I've done thus far. So I'm just joining up the frame at the moment, and the overall dimension of the top will be approximate of about 1200 by 1200 mil. So you'll see as I go along how this comes into play. These are casters I had on my toolbox, and they're quite heavy duty, so I had to, because they're so large, I had to space them out, and for that I cut another part, as you can see here, and that added to the extension. Merely pre-drilling and driving some long screws in to attach this part. These casters are quite heavy duty, so I thought the whole construct needed to be a little bit beefier than what I usually work with. So doing the frame here. Put the frame together now. It's all coming nice and sturdy, nice and solid. A little bit of heft in it, but not too bad. Using pine always eliminates a little bit that heaviness in the weight. But what I'll do now, my last project I made a table, and I went with a black paint, and I got a few good comments back about that. So I'm going to do the same for the base of this, paint it black, and probably also put some Danish oil on the top. So I'll go ahead and spray this black, then I'll come back and I'll do a little bit of sanding, and also put a couple of coats, maybe 4 coats of Danish oil on that timber top there, and hopefully that'll do it justice. So yeah, I'll keep going, and let's see how this turns out. Oh yeah, and the last thing, one of the second last things I'm going to do before attaching this is put those casters on the bottom, because this is a mobile base. I want to be able to move it around the workshop, so I'll get cracking again. Working up to a 180 grit, I didn't want this to be overly smooth, and using Danish oil once again is beautiful stuff to work with. When I moved into this shop, this old workbench was basically what was left here, and I think it's one of those old student benches where students might be on one on this side and another one on that side. For me, it wasn't something that I wanted, but I had it here, so I thought I'd utilise it. So I propped it up here a little bit, got it sort of level with both sides, and then I had a sheet of form ply on top of that, and then also another bit of plywood. But you know, plywood's real soft. You'll see a bit of confusion has reigned here. What is this tool called? Flat blade screwdriver. However, I carried on. It's amazing how much dust, sawdust and things you accumulate underneath things until you remove them and give them a good clean up. So checking for clearances here, attaching the underneath base to the top with these right angle brackets. And I had an outfeed table previously which also had a plywood top, so I'm just disattaching that, and I'm going to put a top which is a little bit more solid, so I think that'll be a little bit easier to work with in the future, for the long term anyway. Using my track saw here to cut down the section. This will be for the bottom shelf, and also a part I'm going to be cutting on the table saw. This is the first time I've cut a big piece like this, and this is a maiden voyage, so let's see how that goes. As you can see, a piece of cake. I'm going to be marking out here the corners. This is for the end piece, and that'll slide into place on the frame. The reason I'm putting that on is because I wish to add in the future, maybe have some sort of storage system on the end of this workbench. Fitting and screwing this end piece in, and then it's merely a matter of putting a little bit of a round over on the edge of the whole bench top. Initially I had done the underside of this with several coats of Danish oil, but I knew I wanted to get this finished up, a bit more extra sanding on the edges, and then I'm applying 3 coats, I might even go 4 coats of Danish oil. Basically scavenged the casters and also the handle off my tool chest, so I'm attaching this, and this will make it easier to move the whole thing around. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for joining in. If you enjoyed watching this build, please hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell. That'll advise you to further upcoming content coming from my channel. This is practically my version of a outfeed table, but more so a workbench now, having dog holes there. I'm going to get some hold downs, and it'll probably be the best system I can use for the DIY type of woodworking that I embark upon. So as well as that, having the shelf underneath, I'm going to probably do some build-ins there for some type of storage. And the reason I blocked the end in at this end is potentially I might even put a clamp rack on there. So I'll see how it goes. But if you want to see another great series of woodworking bench project, make sure you check out Man Band Woodworks. And there's an absolutely fantastic series on building a workbench out of reclaimed Australian hardwood, and it's absolutely magnificent. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. That's probably something I wouldn't need, but for a lot of people out there, it is definitely something you might want to consider as well. Alright guys, till the next time, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you get out in the workshop or outside and make some good stuff. Till the next time, I'll catch you later.